Hey guys, my name is Matimio, and welcome to another episode of Sunday Mailbox. This is a video series where you, the viewer, can submit your gaming or Battlefield-related questions, and then I will give my humble opinion on them. To get the formalities out of the way real quick, if you would like to submit your own question that can be featured in an upcoming episode, you can do so by leaving a comment down below, or by sending me a YouTube message. The first question for today comes from a lot of you, and it mainly comes around the idea that many of you guys are upset that Battlefield now appears like it's going to be an annual franchise. We had Battlefield 4 launch about 7 months ago, I think, and in October this year, October 21st, I believe, we're gonna get Battlefield Hardline. And the biggest thing I think this stems from is that people do not want this to be the next Call of Duty. Like every single year, you guys know, a new COD game comes out, and there isn't a lot of innovation there. They tweak things slightly, but for the most part, you can't really see a whole lot of difference between Call of Duty 5 from Call of Duty 6 or 7. Like, there just isn't a whole lot of difference there. And I think that's where most people are upset around this. Like, they want Battlefield to continue to evolve. They want there to be innovation. They want the next Battlefield title to feel different from the previous Battlefield title. They want them to bring more to the table. And if there is a game every single year, there just isn't enough time to bring that innovation and to make the game feel more unique. And I definitely get these concerns, and honestly, I'm a little concerned that this is going to be where we're heading, but I'm also crossing my fingers that EA, DICE, and Visceral are going to be smart about it, and that they may just kind of divvy up what their games are going to be focused on. It seems like Battlefield Hardline is going to be all about close encounter combat. We did see a couple of transport vehicles, we saw some cop cars and some helicopters in one of the leaked trailers, but for the most part, it seems like Visceral Games is going more down close encounter combat. You got your primary weapons, and that's what the game is really going to be all about. Now, if we switch on over to the core Battlefield games, like Battlefield 4 that was created by DICE, they may focus more on large-scale warfare, like what we've been getting. You know, tanks down on the ground, helicopters, jets flying around up in the sky, 64-man epic warfare. And I think if they divvy it up like that, where DICE focuses more on like Battlefield 5 or Battlefield 2143, where they continue on with the massive, battlefield warfare, while Visceral Games focuses more on the close quarter stuff and they bring us some unique gameplay in that capacity, then I could see this working. I am still a little skeptical. I am worrying a little bit because I do not want this to turn into the next Call of Duty franchise where we're just getting the same crap over and over and over again. But I think the problem with the Call of Duty franchise is that the games themselves are so similar and you can't really expand upon them because it's all about that close encounter combat. There isn't any deviation there, and I think if DICE was the ones who focus more on large scale, while Visceral Games, as long as Battlefield Hardline is amazing and they focus on more of the infantry-based combat, then having them come out every single year isn't going to be as large of an issue. The other thing we have to remember is that Battlefield has always been on a 2-year cycle. Like the core developers, DICE, they've always come out with a Battlefield game every other year, and that doesn't seem like that's going to change. And the only real difference here is that Battlefield Hardline is taking over where Medal of Honor left off. Like, Medal of Honor was a little bit of a flop. They may continue it on in the future, but EA has come out and said that the game right now is pretty much dead. Like, it didn't live up to expectation, and so it seems like Visceral is just kind of scooting on in there into the cycle there, where we now have a new first-person shooter, but it's not created by DICE. And so, like I said, I am skeptical, but I think they can make this work as long as they play their cards right, as long as the games feel unique and different, and they're able to continue on with innovation. I think this can work as long as they nail it down. The next question comes from Blue Donut, and it is, do you think that the next-gen consoles should have the option of keyboard and mouse? Like the keyboard and mouse plug into the consoles, I think this would give players a variety to play their favorite games. Your thoughts? I would love if the Xbox One or the PlayStation 4 added this functionality, because I'm a PC gamer. I love my mouse and keyboard. It allows me to be very accurate, and when I jump and play a first-person shooter on one of the consoles, I feel like a fish out of water. I can't aim worth anything. Like, I can get it done, but I basically have to play on the lowest settings, and it's not because I'm new to first-person shooters, it's just because the controls just don't make sense in my hand. And I guess if I played it for a while and I slowly started to get used to the controller, I think I could make it work. But realistically, if I had the mouse and keyboard option for the Xbox One or the PlayStation 4, I would be all over that. The problem we run into, though, is that if they did add this functionality, competitive shooters and people that play, Battlefield 4 or Call of Duty or really any competitive shooter out there, they're gonna basically be required to use a mouse and keyboard. keyboard. Objectively, a mouse is always going to be more accurate than a controller. I know that right now someone probably in the comment section is going to say that I'm a PC master race asshole, and while I love my PC, this literally is an objective fact. Like, a mouse is always going to be more accurate than a controller, and that's the reason why controllers require auto-aim. Like, that's why you see auto-aim in first-person shooters for consoles, because it's a necessity. Like, it needs to be in the game for people to be consistent with their shots. And so if they did add this functionality to the Xbox One and the PlayStation 4, while it would make me a hell of a lot more likely to pick both of them up, I have a feeling that most console players wouldn't be thrilled with this idea. Maybe if they're playing, you know, single-player games, then sure, that's fine. But as soon as you bring in this discrepancy where one player is using a mouse over the player that's using the controller, the one with a mouse is going to have a slight advantage because they can just simply be more accurate. And so, I don't know. Let me know down in the comment section. Would you guys on consoles, for all you console players out there, would you like to have this functionality? Would you like to go against players that are using a mouse and keyboard when you're only using a console? I don't know. You know, I don't really play console gaming all that much. I'm a PC guy, you know, through and through, but I'd love to get your opinion down below. The next question comes from the Battle Tested, and it is, what do you think if lock-on rockets needed a cooldown time after the rocket has been reloaded? This would make the lock-on rockets less spammable. I honestly have no idea how to balance out lock-on rockets in a first-person shooter like Battlefield. I've thought about it for hours. Like, I've talked about it with friends. We've come up with a lot of different scenarios, but it really comes down to it. Just having lock-on rockets in a game just is not an easy thing to balance. It doesn't take really any skill on the part of the player that uses it, and usually when you're up in the sky and you're getting locked on by 1,000 different rockets, it's not a lot of fun getting taken out by them as well. But at the same time, you also have to take into consideration that's what they're all about. Like, if you are playing as an engineer and you have a Stinger missile, you're giving up normal rockets. You don't have an RPG to take out a tank. You don't have the RPG that could potentially take out a wall that has an infantry behind it, and so you're giving up that power for something that is only able to take out air vehicles. Like, that is what it's all about. And so, God, I really have no idea. I have no idea how to make lock-on rockets function and feel like a fun aspect of the game, because really it's just what they're for. Like, you need to make them feel viable. They need to be effective at taking out aircrafts, but at the same time they can't be overpowered or to the point where it feels like you're just a sitting duck when you're getting locked on. And while I feel like they might be a little bit too powerful right now, I really have no idea. And so if you guys down below have any clue on how to make lock-on rockets function in Battlefield, I mean, I've thought about this forever, and honestly, I think that they should just probably be removed and replaced with something else. But if you have any idea to make lock-on rockets a very unskillful weapon in the game, take out helicopters, but at the same time make it feel useful, because that's what it's all about, let me know down below. I am very curious to know what you guys come up with. The next question comes from Larry, and it is, what do you think about increasing the marksman bonuses or giving recon sniping at long range the ability to generate more points? I don't know how sold I am on this idea. I do realize that the Recon class probably could use some loving in the points department. I saw a long time ago, and these stats and these graphs that I saw could have been completely wrong, but it looked on average that the Recon class gets way less points to the other 3 kits in the game. And while they do have a couple of gadgets that can generate some points for them, you got like the MAV and the tugs, if you're playing like as the assault class or the support class, you have a box that you can lay on the ground, and anyone that runs by it gives you free points, and that's not something that you really get as the Recon class. And so while I do think that the Recon could probably use some more point regeneration or some gadgets that give them a little bit more loving and a little bit more points, I don't know if this is the best way to go about it. If you incentivize, or if you give more people a reason to snipe from long range and you give them a larger marksman bonus, more people are going to take advantage of it. Like, if you give them 1,000 points for sniping someone like 250 meters, 300 meters away, you're going to have more people sitting on top of rooftops or sitting on top of a mountain like on Operation Firestorm and trying to go for those long ball shots because they know they're going to get rewarded, or the points are going to be there at the end of those kills. And so what I really just think needs to happen is just increase their points slightly across the board. Honestly, you should probably just give Recons more points for spotting in general, not just for the MAV or for using the tugs, but they're the Recon class. When I think of Recon, I think of reconnaissance, getting information to your team, and right now, while they do have the best gadgets for doing that, the points don't really reflect that. And so I think personally they should just increase the points across the board for all of the reconnaissance type of deal that you partake in as this kit. You could be on the right track. Maybe DICE will go down this and increase the points of Marksman bonus, but because it would incentivize just sniping further and further away from the action, while I know that's legitimate, you know, you can play Battlefield however you want, for the most part, you should be at least somewhat close to the battlefield. You should be trying to, you know, be around objectives, helping out your team. And when you're going just for those absurd shots that while you may be able to get them every once in a while, getting only 5 kills throughout the entire round and being at the top of the scoreboard probably isn't the best way to help out your team. And so that's just my 2 cents. But yeah, guys, that is about it for today's Sunday Mailbox. I hope you enjoyed. Once again, if you have a question that you would like me to answer in an upcoming episode, you can do so by leaving a comment down below or by sending me a YouTube message. But until tomorrow, guys, have a good one and take it easy.